FUD is basically what it comes down to: fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Whenever people hear new things, new ways of how things are run, for people's first instinct is like, how can this be done? This doesn't work. This doesn't work for me. Maybe this works for you, or maybe this works for specific practice types.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Answering Legal's Everything Except the Law podcast. I am your host, Nick Worker. If this is your first time tuning in, this is the podcast where we share expert advice on all the parts of running a law firm that attorneys weren't exactly trained for back in law school. Now, in the past, things like working virtually or cutting down on working hours may have seemed like a fairy tale for those running growing law practices. But in 2022, many attorneys have been able to achieve both, largely thanks to the guidance of people like our guest today. Sam Mollaei is the founder and director of Legal Funnel, which is a company that helps lawyers grow and automate their dream virtual law firm. In this episode, we're going to be hearing about Sam's Legal Funnel system and getting tips on how to create a law firm that can completely run by itself. Sam, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Nick. I'm super excited.
Me too. So I want to get things started off today by talking about one of the major turning points in your career, which in 2015, I know you decided to quit your law firm job and start a virtual law firm. Can you tell us a little bit about the decision and how things have ultimately worked out for you?
Sure. So I worked at a traditional employment law firm where I was kind of doing discovery work like a traditional lawyer. And then I wasn't loving it. I was actually depressed from doing that work. And the moment for me when I realized that something has to change was I would come in to work at like 8. By like 8:05, I was already looking at the time. Like, okay, what do I have to do? So I started soul searching, talked to as many people as I could. And I met one of my friends who was a law firm owner, and he was a young guy, and he's like, oh, I'm on my own. I've been doing it for a year, getting clients, and I'm getting by. And that was enough for me to see that if someone else can do it, so can I. So soon after, I've been creating my own law firm. But the problem was, law school didn't teach me how to get clients and how to run the business side of things. So in my first year, I had a lot of time. I started reading a lot of books, watching a lot of YouTube videos, reading as many blog articles as I possibly could. And I kind of went neck deep into learning as much as I could about running a law practice. And then my epiphany came when I read Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek book that exposed me to 3 key principles. One is the virtual business model, so to run your business from anywhere in the world at any time. Second was automation, how to create a business that runs completely on its own, kind of like a drop shipping e-commerce business where people just come and order, and then while you're sleeping, people start purchasing from your store. The third part is scalable. Scalable means be able to grow without you necessarily doing more work, and it's able to grow again without you, pretty much it grows while you're sleeping. So I was like, this sounds all amazing. These are all ideas that make sense to me. What if I could apply this to my law firm? So at that point, I made a decision. I'm going to grow a virtual, automated, and scalable law firm. And I started looking around. I'm like, nobody's doing this. I'm like, okay, so I'll be the first one to kind of put this into practice. It took me about a year or two to kind of figure things out. Started getting clients from it. Proof of concept done. Now let me try to see if I can duplicate it. So I duplicated it over and over. Then I started doing it for other lawyers. Then at that point, about 4 years ago, I met my mentor, who kind of exposed me to, hey, instead of focusing on just one law firm, why don't we go create as many law firms as we possibly could? You focus on what you're good at, which is client generation and creating all the backend systems for the law firm to run on its own. And then try to duplicate that over and over. So we did that. And then that was the journey for a couple of years. Now, the last 2 or 3 years, I've been on the journey of passing all the practical ways that I've been able to automate my own law firms that are actively running. I have 7 virtual law firms, and sharing all those secret sauces with other lawyers.
So I hear all of what you're saying, and I know that our audience might be taken aback by like your sort of progressive approach. It's not every day that you meet somebody who's taken 7 law practices completely virtual, made them scalable. You don't have to go anywhere. You know what I mean? Like it's sort of a departure from the norm. So I know that there are a lot of listeners that immediately put up a wall, and are sort of, I don't know. What would you?
FUD is basically what it comes down to: fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Whenever people hear new things, new ways of how things are run, for people's first instinct is like, how can this be done? This doesn't work. This doesn't work for me. Maybe this works for you, or maybe this works for specific practice types. But that's usually the initial reaction. But it takes work, and it takes going through the hurdles and through the challenges and obstacles to see, no, there's always a way around things. There's always a better, more efficient, quicker way to get around these things. That's what I've been able to get through in the past 6 or 7 years, to get through all those hurdles, all those FUDs that I had myself, had all those doubts myself, but I was able to work through it to see how can I apply these concepts to my own law firm. So that's the only difference. It's not just the initial reaction versus working through it.
Understood. So I want to ask you more in depth about that. Is what are some of the biggest misconceptions that you have sort of overcome in running your practice virtually, and what do you say to lawyers who you try to encourage to run their practices virtually?
I think the biggest hurdle that law firm owners are dealing with is doing too many things themselves. And that's how most law firms start, where you kind of have to be the accountant, bookkeeper, and this, and the biller, and all that stuff. But you have to go through a transformation of being able to trust people and systems to be able to take off a lot of the tedious and repetitive things off your hands. I know what your company offers is you can pretty much be able to answer calls. That's an easy one to delegate. Everybody should be beyond that stage. Delegate the calls, and let me go instead focus on the things that I'm best at and I enjoy doing most. And for everybody, that's different. Some people enjoy the legal work. Great. I just had lunch with somebody who just only loves talking to people. Great. Let's get you to only talk to people and make videos, and everything else delegate it. So it's just that literally trusting yourself and trusting other people to be able to delegate to people and delegate it to systems.
So when someone sets out to start a virtual practice, what do they need to have in place, right, first, in order to be successful in a virtual environment and really take advantage of what you're talking about here?
You don't need much. That's the cool part about virtual. It's very little expense. Now my mind always goes towards the client generation first. Can I generate clients for this field, for this new law firm that I'm going to start? And that's where I go first. And at this point, I've kind of been able to systematize it through a series of questions that I ask either myself or people that I'm going to enter this new relationship with to be able to start a law firm. And I'm going to pull it out and see what kind of questions they have. So if you're thinking about either going into new niche or new practice, this is what it comes down to, these particular questions. Just give me a moment to pull it out. So first is clearly explain the problem your clients have before they hire you. The problem is where we start at in plain language. Second is, what's the geographic location you can target? Ideally, your state. If you can be federal, even better, but definitely not city. City, I don't think is enough for you to be able to consistently get enough clients for you to have a scalable automated virtual law firm. Third is, who are your top 3 direct competitors? Who's in your field? Go study who they are. Are they running ads? Are they not running ads? If they're running ads, who has the best websites? Okay, what can we learn from that? Next is, what qualifying questions do you want your leads to answer? So for you to qualify them, to see whether you can even call them, to see whether you can sign them up. So qualifying questions, and these are like pre-qualifying questions, not intake questions. Kind of qualifying questions is the way that I kind of look at it, which I'm sure answering legal helps you guys be able to establish those. Next is, describe your ideal dream client. Who are they? How old are they? What are the job titles? What do they look like? Male or female? Things like that. Next is, what are the specific results your dream clients get after the case is settled? Okay, the result, not what they get, but the result of what they get. So this is for immigration lawyer. You're not helping your clients get a green card. No, always take it to the next step. Now that they have a green card, what's a result? How does it make their life better? What do they benefit? And what do they avoid as a result of that? So it's a second layer. Next is, do you have any proof of you being able to help your clients? These Solomon checks, happy clients, those are things that make your marketing much easier, and your website and your funnels help optimize for that. Next is, do you currently have a database of these contact information of your potential clients? Okay, instead of maybe trying to find new people, what if one of we set up some automations to go reach out to all those people? And then And I think that is like the big gist of it. So, and then the other thing also is like, what's the average client worth to you? So that way we could figure out the numbers, work it backwards. Say a client is worth $5,000. If that's the case, what's your conversion rate when you do get a lead? You usually just say 1 out of 5 calls turn into a client. So if that's the case, your target, let's actually, let me back it up. $5,000 is your average. How much are you willing to spend to get a $5,000 client? Usually want to have a 300% ROI. If that's the case, I'm willing to spend $1,500 to get a $5,000 client. If that's the case, how many leads do you convert to turn into a client? Let's just say 1 out of 5. So if that's the case, my target cost per lead is $300, and then work backwards to help you decide how much you can spend in marketing. And so that's the math side of it. And then pretty much what I just shared with you in the last 5 minutes. I know it was kind of like I did it quickly, but if need be, go back, like rewind it 2 minutes, break all those down. And that is pretty much everything you need to be able to start a law firm with all the marketing, with all creating the websites and the funnels and everything you need to be able to run a successful law firm.
So I want to talk about specifically your legal funnel system. Can you tell us about your system's origins and give us an overview of what lawyers can not sort of expect, but what can lawyers accomplish? How far can they go with your legal funnel system?
So the first limiting belief that a lot of lawyers have is this legal funnel or funnels and sales funnels that I've been hearing about maybe it works for transactional, or maybe it works for this types of lawyers, all that stuff. And that is a misconception, and it's false. First of all, funnels work for all practice types. It just depends on how you apply it. But if you want to get clients, funnels is the systematic way for you to get those clients. With that being said, the funnel is broken down into 3 steps. First part is traffic or client source, whatever you want to call it. It's basically where are your potential clients coming from, okay? That usually simplify it. Let me just simplify it for you. Either it comes from paid ads, either you do some kind of, you pay for it, or you go produce content and you create value for people to come to you. I like paid ads because it's a lot more scalable. I'll be able to, if it works, I'll be able to turn it up. It's also a lot more trackable, and it's just and then you also get quicker results. So I usually tend to always start off with paid ads to be able to prove whether I could generate clients. If not, if I don't have time, if I don't have money, then I have more time on my hands, then that's when I go produce content and create value in the market. So that's the first part. Second part is, now that you got your traffic, then you want to send them to a funnel. Essentially, all a funnel is you getting their contact information and nurturing them over time through emails and videos to kind of get them to not sell them upfront. You never want to push them upfront. Hey, sign up right here. Instead, it's a long, elongated kind of process of building a relationship, building trust, likability, to get them to take your desired action, which for most lawyers is to give me a call or to go here to schedule a call. And the third part is automation, which is basically a series of emails. And again, things that are automated to be able to over and over follow up with your prospects to say, hey, I know you probably have some questions about this. Let me send you a video about this. Hey, you probably have these questions, or you're probably wondering, let me show you these case studies. And by setting up these automations, these emails and texts and videos are automatically being sent to your potential clients over time. And all those things are directing people to take one desired action, which is, again, give me a call, just go schedule a call, or go sign this retainer agreement. That's kind of like a short gist of it. How that's applied for your law firm, how you implement that for your law firm is pretty much what my program helps you implement. But that's basically just the gist of it.
Lawyer Nation, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, take a moment right now to subscribe right below and turn on the bell notification to get notified every time I post a video, because right now I'm posting 5 videos a week, providing lots of value to lawyers. So click right here to subscribe, and to watch the next most relevant video, click right here. Go do it, go watch it.